Hello and welcome to the Comedy Roadshow. I'm your host, Stephen Bigilen. My next guest, Raymond Orta, is visiting our Los Angeles studio from South Texas. Is that right? South Texas?
South Texas, man.
All right.
That's right. South Texas.
Welcome to the show, Raymond.
How you doing, Steve? You
All
all
right. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, man.
Indeed.
It's great to be here in this fantastic studio in front of all these people. 6,000 people just for us. It's amazing. They're all quiet, but they're there.
So you made it. It was a big trip for you. You stopped in Phoenix on the way?
Tucson. My friend was getting married, and he asked me to be the best man. Unfortunately, they told his wife that I was a comedian, so she didn't let me touch a microphone the whole night. She was pretty vigilant about it. She's like, nobody touches a mic. No, not him. Like, come on, lady, I'm off duty.
So we got to meet at the Comedy Festival.
Yeah, the Ventura Comedy Festival. That was last month? September?
It was about a month ago.
Yeah, man, it was awesome, man. I had a great time there. They put me in the Latino showcase, and so they filled it up with Mexicans when I was there, which was good because they needed to bus tables and stuff like that. So it was good that they filled it up with a bunch of my kind of people there.
So tell us about yourself.
My name is Raymond Orta. I'm 6'5", 270 pounds. I should be playing in the NFL, but I lack athletic ability. And so I decided to turn to comedy. I'm 27. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
15
years old. That was the first time I actually got paid for it, but I've been doing it way before that. Like, the first time I actually got on stage to do a show, I was a third grader in front of for a talent show. I did my own jokes. I did voices. I used to do impressions of Sesame Street and stuff like that, like Bert and Ernie and
really,
yeah. It was I was a little kid. You know what? When I was in third grade, Bill Clinton was running against George Bush Sr. and I had some political jokes about him, and I was doing impressions of Bill Clinton as a third grader, and everybody was freaking out, like this kid's out of the box, man. It was cool, man. So I ended up my teachers were freaking out, and I realized that comedy was for me, man.
So how did you actually get into your first paying gigs?
The first paying gig that I ever got into was my dad. He took me into a bar. I just started talking to the bar owner, and he thought it was funny, that I was funny, and that I should put on a show. So he paid me $50 to do an hour of comedy, which at the time I was 15 years old. I didn't have an hour of comedy, but I could do a lot of impressions. So I just did voices for all the drunks, and they liked it. So I made some cash, and at 15 years old, $50. You could buy the world with it, So
Sure.
I was just like, you make money off of this? It's amazing. It's awesome.
So this particular bar didn't have an open mic night.
No.
They just did it for you.
Yeah, it was. They saw me there, and the guy's like, he's pretty funny. Like, do you want to do a show? I'm like, sure. And he paid me $50. That was the first time I ever actually got paid to do comedy. And then after that, I started. I had no idea that you could actually get paid to do this. So I was like, what? I don't have to get a job? That's awesome. And especially in this economy, that's actually a good thing to have. When you don't have to worry about getting a job, it's good.
Obviously, Bert and Ernie were influences on you. Any other comedians that were influences on you?
Definitely, man. I'm a huge fan of Rodney Dangerfield because I think I might be related to him because of my eyes. And a huge fan of Sam Kinison. George Carlin is one of my, he's my all-time favorite just because he was so edgy and stuff like that. But Rodney Dangerfield, because I look like him. I think I look like Gerard Butler and Rodney Dangerfield had a baby. It's kind of scary. And but that's my top influence. I got to say Sam Kinison because he's so crazy. But if you look at my style, I'm nothing like him at all. I'm more sound effects and goofy voices and fun. It's just high energy, just in your face.
But obviously, they made it clear to you that you can make a living at this, so they were successful comedians.
Oh, definitely, man. And I had no idea that, whenever I would see comedy on TV, I just thought they were doing a show. So I didn't know that they were actually getting paid for it until I actually got paid for it myself. I was like, what? Those people must be making millions of dollars. And sure enough, they were. So that's what I'm going after.
So artists like George Carlin, for example, and even Rodney, how was it that you were exposed to them? Was it television? Was it some other media?
I was exposed to them through television, and I honestly don't know how. I guess, we're Mexican, so we had illegal cable, and I saw some clips, and it wasn't so much that I was blown away by comedy because, you know, I had always been the class clown, so I just enjoyed watching somebody else making somebody else laugh. And when you have a face like this, you have to make up for it somehow. And the personality and humor was one way that I could actually live on to reproduce. And that's survival of the fittest. Like, you got to have something to, you know, contribute to your offspring. And luckily, the personality is there for me, man. Because if it wasn't for the humor, there would be no chicks next to me. Because look at this, like.
You gotta have sex in order to reproduce.
Exactly.
So.
At least that's what I was told in science class.
So you make the girls laugh and you got sex.
Know, what's that quote that Marilyn Monroe said? If you can make a girl laugh, you can make her do anything.
Whoa,
that's right.
That's a Marilyn Monroe quote.
That's a Marilyn Monroe quote, and she was pretty hot.
So what clubs do you typically appear at now?
I do a lot of dive bars and a lot of motorcycle gang bars in South Texas, which is the scariest place to do comedy, which is awesome because, you know, when you can make people laugh that aren't there to laugh, that's when you know that you can actually get somebody's attention. So whenever I have a chance to do a comedy club, it's so easy because everybody's there to, you know, this is the example I always use. When people go to a comedy club, they're there, they pay their money, and they're there like, oh, I'm gonna laugh today, I'm gonna laugh. And in my place, in my part of town, they don't pay money to go there. They're just, everybody gets in free, and instead of them wanting to laugh, they're expecting you to make them laugh. So they're like, okay, go ahead and make me laugh. Okay, that was funny, try it again. You know, it's a lot more difficult. But I mean, I enjoy. It's like comedy is like UFC. You know, there's punches everywhere. No, but if you train with the Gracies, if you train in the hardest MMA camps, you're gonna do good in the big fights. Mm-hmm. If you train in the rinky-dinky camps, you're gonna get your ass kicked. So comedy is the same way. If you train and if you hone your craft in the crappiest of dive bars and biker bars and stuff like that, when you get into a comedy club, it's going to be so easy because you're used to people not giving anything about you. They don't even want to hear you. They're just there to drink. And if you can actually take them and turn them around and actually, you know, make them care about what you're saying, you've accomplished something huge. And in a comedy club, you don't have that battle to fight, so it's a lot easier.
In comparison, I'm sure there's a lot of comedians that'll disagree with you. Yeah. And say, wow, this is a rough crowd.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I've had my share of rough crowds, man. I've had some real, like, it's rare when it happens, but when it does, it happens.
Tell me the wildest incident as far as the strangest show you've done.
This is one of my favorite stories to tell. I had an agent at the time. I was like 18 years old, and I was real eager, and I had been doing comedy for about 3 years, and I was really confident. And my agent said, I can get you a gig in front of thousands of people. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And when I say my agent, I just mean a guy that was credible enough on the phone to sound convincing. It was just some dude. And he got me a spot in front of in an outdoor venue. It was a park in front of thousands of people. He wasn't joking. There was thousands of people there. It was at a boxing match.
Wow.
And I was doing comedy in between fights. And for comedians out there, dude, don't do this. Don't ever combine comedy with violence because people are there to see violence. They're not there to see jokes, you know? So they were there to see, one, I get into the ring, and this is the first time that I've ever had to perform in a full circle. And there's audience all around me, and I've never performed in a full circle.
Oh, that's
before.
like that Dane Cook.
Yeah, I've never done the full circle thing.
But he was the only one that did that.
Yeah, that's insane because I tried to do that, and well, one, it was outdoors. And two, they were there to see boxing. And three, the microphone was a wireless microphone. And every time a gust of wind would blow through, the frequency would get taken out because the receiver was so far away. And so every time I'd start doing a joke, a wind would come by and the microphone would cut off for like 5 to 10 seconds. So everybody was just really confused. And I'm having to travel in a circle. And I'm over here like, oh yeah, let's see what okay, and so when I would make it around, I saw this gigantic lady sitting in the crowd, massive. She was massive, like really big, like riding a rascal scooter big, and she was sitting in the crowd. She brought her own chair because the chairs at the fight wouldn't support her weight. Mm-hmm. Like that's how big she was. She was sitting there, and she was just this behemoth of a woman wearing biker shorts. because apparently they don't make jeans in that size anymore. And she was wearing these magenta biker shorts. I'll never forget them because I could see the sweat stain in the most inappropriate places. And I was just like, ugh. And it was a darker magenta. I was just like, ugh. And every time I come around, this lady is just it's so humid out there. She's turning pink. And she's just angrily just staring at me. And every time I make her around, she's just doing this.
Wow, that's a rough crowd.
And, well, nobody's hearing the jokes because the microphone's getting cut out. So I'm like, I'm getting booed by this one lady, and I was just like, oh my God. So I finally wrap it up. I probably, like, the people that were close enough to the ring, that were ringside, that could hear my jokes without the microphone, they loved it. But the people back there, everybody was confused, like, what just happened? Who was that guy? And I walked out of there, and I've never wanted to quit comedy before until that moment in time. But the beautiful thing about comedy is that I think that was probably like the first bad show I had ever had in 3 years, and I was just like, you know what, that was really bad, and I'm glad I got back on.
So how did you get back on your feet again after that?
The show after that, I think I think it was a school talent show after that, and it was my senior year in high school, and I already had, you know, I was one of those guys that was friends with everybody, and I was always, you know, joking around. So when they put me in front of the high school population, I made fun of the teachers, I made fun of the security guards, and everybody loved it. I'm like, oh, sweet redemption. Thank God. Like, because it was so rough. Like, it was so rough to have a show that bad where somebody's just visibly just...
Wow. And you were young and impressionable at this point.
Man, I took it so personal because, you know, it was... I don't have kids of my own. My girlfriend has kids, but to me, my jokes are my kids because I've developed them and I've raised them and I've brought them up from nothing. So when you show somebody your kids and you're like, hey, look at my kids, and they're like, oh, that sucks. Ooh, you know, like that's like I worked so hard on this. Why don't you like it? And you know, at that point in time, I was really bummed out about it. But I learned that they don't not like you. They just don't like your material. It's not you as a different person. Yeah, I mean, so I had to learn that lesson when I was 18, and it was a really hard lesson to learn for an 18-year-old because I was crushed, especially somebody in high school. Like, oh, the kids don't like me. Come on, man.
But your peers brought you back.
Definitely.
Your high school peers liked your material and brought you back from the abyss.
When you can make fun of the principal, everybody gets on your side real quick. Like, we've been wanting to say that the whole time. That's awesome.
How did the principal take it?
Oh no, he loved it, man. My principal was real cool with me because he immediately knew that I was the clown, and as long as my grades have always been real good, so he was cool with me making fun of him, and he had like one of those most unique voices, he would be like, his big thing was nobody could step on the grass. You know, he's like, hey, everybody get off the grass. Everybody get off the grass. And that was his voice, and as soon as I said that, everybody started flipping out like, oh my God, he doesn't just like him. But, you know, that's what happened.
It was cool. So even the staff of the high school gave you support.
As a matter of fact, most of the assistant principals and the principal and security guards have remained some of my biggest fans up to date. Cool. Like, they always go to my shows, and I always crack at them and just make fun of them that they used to be, you know, security guards.
So what is it that makes something funny?
I think what makes something funny, what I love to do, is when you can get something from their past, from people's past, and bring it back to make them think, oh, I remember doing that. Ah! Like, that's the biggest laugh you get. Like when you can bring back something like everybody remembers.
Like something that they can relate to.
Yeah, like I have this joke about, I did this show in Green, Texas, and I met a man with a hole in his neck, and it was the scariest thing ever because his voice sounded like this. And that was his voice, and I was just like freaking out, and I turned it into a joke where, you know, this guy's probably a great person regardless of his voice. He just has a scary voice, and he's probably like the guy probably goes to like his son's school plays all the time, and he's scaring the crap out of everybody there, like, that's my son up there, he's the pumpkin. And the ladies next to him like, well, he's doing a great job as a pumpkin, sir. And or like he's like the leader of his church, and he's scaring the tar out of his congregation, you know. Like, and he said unto his disciples, drink this, for this is my blood. Well, don't ask any questions, just drink it, you know. And the one that where it brings everybody back is like, but you know what, this guy's probably just a normal human being has normal problems. Like this guy's probably dropped an electronic device behind the couch before, and he's tried to reach it. He's like, and he finally just gives up and he goes,
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
and everybody's like, dude, Inspector Gadget out of nowhere, and it's like a, everybody is like, I remember that show, and it's like a big laugh because you bring back something from their childhood that they remember. And there's a lot of things that make things funny, but I think that's what gets the biggest laughs when you get somebody remembering about their childhood. They're like, oh, yeah, that's like one of those belly laughs.
You're a great storyteller. I've listened to your
Thank
material,
you.
and I've actually seen you on stage.
Thank you.
And you're a great storyteller, and how you bring everything full circle.
I think the biggest point, like in storytelling, because there's a lot of comics that want to do storytelling, they think that their storytelling is going to take them through the whole show, and they just have that one punchline at the end. And the whole audience is just waiting there for like 4 or 5 minutes waiting for the story to end, and they got one giant punchline at the end. But I think the trick is to get little pot shots all the way up leading to the big punchline.
And you do. You put the pot shots in there, you have your punchlines scattered throughout, and you also do the voice effects.
That's
also
like,
throughout.
That's what draws the people in, because I want to get them to feel my character, and like I want them to know, because I talk about my grandpa and stuff like that, and I want them to know what my grandpa's like. I want them to know what my grandma's like. I want them to know what my mom's like. And at the end of the show, everybody comes up to me like, dude, my grandpa's just like your grandpa. I'm like, yeah, dude. I think it adds an interesting dynamic when you could do voices and sound effects and stuff like that.
So your home turf is South Texas.
Yeah.
So name the communities, the big recognizable communities in that area.
Mexico. Mexico.
So you do cross the border.
I've crossed the border a couple of times. Nobody throws a Christmas party like the cartel.
We are an export nation now.
You want to do a Christmas party? Okay. No, I've done a couple of shows in Mexico. Luckily, I'm fully bilingual, so it was really scary, but I won't do that anymore. Like that's one of those things that I work with some of the actual biggest Mexican comedians that I have that are from over there. They have like Polo and Teo Gonzalez and stuff like that, and those are like the George Carlin and George Lopez of Mexico. Yeah, and I work with those guys, and I have to do the show completely in Spanish and stuff like that. But Mexico's there. South Padre Island is like right where I'm from, and everybody knows where South Padre Island is because of spring break. Woo! And let's see, McAllen is also there, and then if you don't know where that is, that's as far down as you can go. Like this is the
is
way.
Corpus Christi on the map for you?
Corpus Christi is like 2 hours north of us, and then San Antonio is like 3.5 hours north of us. So that's the little corridor I like to stay in there. I'd love to travel more, but
do you get as far as Austin?
Yeah. Austin's like 6 hours north of us, and Dallas is 8 hours north. So I'm really far south.
Wow, seriously.
Yeah.
and now I understand you're preparing to do Vegas.
Yeah. I'm on my way to Vegas, more so to party than to do a show. But I intend to do some shows while I'm out there. I have a lot of friends out there, so hopefully they got a couple of stages for me set up and stuff like that. And maybe I'll lose some money and cry myself to sleep, like everybody else.
So this road has to look very familiar to
you. That's the road to Vegas right there, guys. Right there, right behind us.
So I want to bring up that you've been nominated for a Grammy.
That's a CD, guys. Check it out. That's a CD.
Raymond has been nominated for a Grammy.
I'm in the preliminary cuts. I've made like 2 cuts so far. I need one more, and then I got the nomination. But we're there, and in order to get past those first 2 cuts, they have to sit down and listen to your material. Like 13 engineers sit down and listen to your material one by one. And if one of them finds something wrong, they'll strike it off. And if you get a total of 2 strikes throughout that entire process, you get it weeded out. So my CD's made it past that, so I'm just hoping like make this.
That's incredible. Do you realize that this puts you in a class with people like George Carlin and Richard Pryor, that they influenced generations that came after them. You know how many people sit in this chair and tell me that what they heard when they were growing up as young adults, listening to those, in those days, the vinyl, but to actually listen to your material, is you're going to influence people at 20, 30 years from now. People are going to be sitting on talk shows saying that Raymond Orta influenced me to be a comedian.
I can't even imagine that. Like people take this CD and they're like, dude, we listen to it all the time. Like a friend of mine said, like, yeah, we were having a barbecue, and there was tons of people there, like 4th of July or something like that, and they were having a big barbecue, tons of people, and my friend was just barbecuing by his, and he had his radio by his barbecue pit, and he put on my CD. All of a sudden, everybody stops partying, and they all gather around the radio to listen to the CD. And I'm thinking, I just reverted this entire family back to the 1950s. Everybody's like, oh, and little kids come up to me and they're quoting my stuff. I'm like, what? Like, it's freaking me out, man. Like, hey, and so I'm still getting used to this whole stuff, man. I've been doing this a long time, and like, I still think of me as just a regular person, man. I'm just a regular dude that just happens to be funny. And this whole Grammy thing is just catching me by surprise big time, because my buddy, Pollo, he's the one that's the sound engineer on this, and he thinks we're getting nominated. Like, he already thinks, he's like, dude, it's in the bag, we're getting nominated. And he showed me the list that I'm on, and it's like, it's a big list where people, George Lopez is on, Kathy Griffin, Jim Gaffigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
you're up against some serious competition.
Conan O'Brien is there, Jimmy Fallon. I'm over here like, oh, Raymond Orta,
So let me get this straight. It's a consideration to be nominated? Is
Yeah.
that the official phrase?
Yeah, I guess so.
And hopefully by the time people hear this interview, you'll be officially nominated.
Yeah, hopefully. I think we get the official word in next month, which is in a couple of days.
Wow.
So we're
keeping our fingers crossed.
I'm also, man, because that's something to add to the resume. Even just to get nominated is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like if I could get the chance to walk the red carpet dressed as ridiculously as I possibly can dress, I'll make Lady Gaga run for the hills. You know what I'm saying? Like, I dress ridiculous. Like, if you couldn't tell by this floral shirt.
And the thing is that a lot of comedians really depend on the visual to be seen on TV to get. I mean, and visually you're hysterical, because you have the eyes bugging out of your head, and big smile, and but you actually work on an audio only platform.
This is the first time that I've actually developed a CD, because I had it the first time that I filmed the DVD. I was 21, and I haven't, like, I've made 1,000 of them, and I just sold them all, and that was that. Like, whoever has that, it's a collector's item. Like, I don't even want to see it, because when you do comedy, you hear yourself and you're like, it's gotten so much better. And people still come up to me like, dude, I have your first DVD. I'm like, oh, here, take this new CD. It's a lot better. And but when I had my DVD, everybody was like, dude, like, I thought you could listen to it in the car. I'm like, no, like, I do a lot of facial expressions. Why do you want to listen to me in the car? And they're like, no, we're long trip. So I decided to make a CD instead, because I could actually get the CD nominated for a Grammy instead of a video that couldn't.
Very, very smart business move.
That was not my smart move. That was my friend Pollo's. He's done some engineer work on some other Grammy projects, and once they saw his name on there, they're like, okay, well, let's look at this. So I was able to get with my friend that had some pull. And he was able to show it to the right people, man. But the CD is actually a DVD that I filmed. I just took the audio and made it into a CD.
And it worked. It really worked.
We're hoping for the best. But I plan to release the DVD out probably next month.
I have to admit, I did not see the DVD, but I listened to the CD. And it really got my curiosity, because I wanted to see, how did this translate to audio only, and you hit a home run.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks. And it was one of my biggest worries, because I'm so visual, and I do a lot of. There's some spots in the CD where you're like, what's he doing, and why are people laughing? Because I do my own thing visually, and if you're not
there's only a couple of those moments, but those moments actually make you want to see this performance to see what those nuances were.
That's what I want people to be like, man, I wish I was there, because people are laughing real hard for nothing. He's not even talking.
Have you jumped on the bandwagon with the downloads where people could put them on their devices?
Yeah. My CD's on iTunes, and it's on the Android market. It's on the Google market. You just search my name and it'll come up. It's called El Comedian, Raymond Orta, El Comedian, and that's a tribute to me being half Mexican, half white. My dad is Mexican, and my mom is a single mother. So it's called El Comedian, and it's just.
Do people call you that when you arrive somewhere? El Comedian.
No, because they would say, "Oh, do you know Raymond Orta? Oh, who's that? El Comedian. Oh, yeah. So that's that's where I got it from. Like, my audience, when they're asking my friends, they're like, "Hey, Raymond Orta? You should go check him out. Who's that? Oh, El Comedian. Oh, okay, yeah, badass. So I got it from them.
So that's how you got the title.
Yeah. That's what I'm referred to down in South Texas. Oh, El Comedian.
That's a great title.
Thanks, man. Thank you, brother.
So, what about the podcast? Is that also available on podcast?
I recorded probably about 4 hours of insane, complete insanity. And what I did was I got a studio and I record people coming over, and it's like a Howard Stern interview. It just goes crazy. I had these two hot chicks seeing how far they could put a wiener, like a hot dog, in their mouth, and we talk about it in great detail, and it turns into just this gigantic party. And I haven't released any of it. I had one of the greatest episodes a couple of months ago, where my roommate Jesse went up against this amateur porn star in a manhood measuring contest, and we had these two guys, showing how endowed they were in front of 4 chicks who were there to judge, and it was based on length, thickness, and firmness, I guess. Like, and the X Factor round was a showmanship round, like what they could do with it, and like they would do dances and stuff. And if you hear it, it's like there's a spot where they're facing each other, and my friend and I are talking like if it's a boxing match, like, let's go to the tail of the tape, and it's like, this guy has a 10-inch reach, it's just like it's ridiculous. It's super funny, and it hasn't been heard by anybody.
So you haven't released it?
I haven't released it, and I'm very I'm one of those guys, like, if it wasn't for me being such a perfectionist and meticulous about my material, I'd have like 8 DVDs, 16 CDs, tons of stuff if I was just ready to spew it out, because it's all been recorded. But I look at it, I'm like, no, nobody's gonna see that.
So that one you were thinking podcast when you were doing
like, the podcast is there and it's recorded and it's really, really polished and good. I don't want to release it. Like, it's scary, man. Like, it's I want to wait for the right time to release it, I guess. I want to be able to see if I can get a Grammy nomination and say, oh, by the way, this guy, not only is he Grammy nominated, but he's also got this podcast.
Right.
And then actually
tie it all in together.
Yeah.
Is it technically possible to put this on a podcast, or does that have to be a download through iTunes or something?
No, well, this CD is available through iTunes. Like, if you just type in Raymond Orta, that CD is going to come up, and it's a picture of me wearing a backwards cap, and I'm doing this face.
You'll recognize
so you'll recognize
the bulging eyeballs.
Like, just look for the Rodney Dangerfield lookalike, and
is there a link on your website to all this material? And as new material becomes released, you'll have the links on your website.
Yeah, and I try to put a video up on YouTube every now and then. If you go to funnyraymond.com, funnyraymond.com, you can see my CD, my videos, my tour dates, my schedule, pictures of me in the nude. Anything you want to see is there. It's just whatever floats your boat.
Well, if the payback for what you did to those poor guys in your studio.
Well, yeah. I got to see them. They have to see me now. So that's eye for an eye, I guess.
Yeah. Are they trying to get your grandfather's beer by any chance?
You have to listen to the CD for that one.
Hey, Raymond, thanks for being on the
Stephen,
show.
thanks
I
for
really
having me, man.
appreciate you
Appreciate it,
being
bro.
here.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, Comedy Roadshow. Thank you guys for watching.